Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and today I'm going to be doing a review for none other than Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. Let's do it. It's Jade Legacy Day. If this goes up on time, the plan is to have it out on November 30th, the day Jade Legacy comes out, and I'm going to be doing a quick spoiler-free review of Jade Legacy, a favorite of the year. I'm sure if you're familiar with my channel, you've probably heard me gush and gush about the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, and we have finally gotten our finale, and it is one hell of a ride. I'm just so excited to finally get to talk about it because I read this book literally weeks ago and haven't managed to do my review, and I'm excited for it to be out in the world. I received this from the publisher, so thank you very much for that. As always, content warnings are in the description down below. I think this review is going to be too long because it is the third in a series and we're attempting to keep the spoiler free. Jade City is an urban fantasy story set in this tiny island nation of Kekon, where it's actually ruled by two mafia families. You follow the Call clan that's kind of having a rough moment and their desperate struggles to not be conquered by the more powerful mountain clan. A lot of family infighting, a lot of problems, and a lot of like mafia-esque warfare. And you get the epic series that I adore and so many others adore, and honestly think just needs to be read by so many more people. So moving on to Jade Legacy though, I think this is what a finale should be. Off the bat, if you ask, is this a successful finale? It just, yes, check mark, absolutely, 100%. This capitalizes off of the success of the first two. It's constantly growing up in stakes and scope of the story, and it just is one-upping itself in terms of pacing, reveals, and there is a lot of payoff in the end. I think this is absolutely a successful finale. This also pulls off a feat that I don't think many can accomplish with very strategic time jumps. This spans the course of like 20 plus years. You watch children become adults and major players, and it's so very skillfully done. Like, Fonda Lee has truly succeeded with something so great. I also love how tightly wound and packed of a story this is. It's over 700 pages, but I was constantly reading the book in fear of what's going to happen next. When is the next shoe going to drop? When is everything going to go all wrong? And it's set up with fantastic writing and atmosphere, and like just, it's very tense in terms of the world. Like I mentioned, this is constantly expanding and getting so much greater than I ever expected it to get. And I love how when the world expands, also like the influence of the individual like nation Kekon becomes. It is this tiny little nation that's trying to like not be colonized by great forces. And as we get the lens outwards, we see the desperate fight of the nation itself, and just like watching the ripple effects of like their choices, how it affects the greater world. I just love it, and I think it really adds to the scope and grandeur of the overall novel. I also think just the world building definitely ties in with the themes of colonization and like resistance to it, and I just think that's such an excellent and clever touch. In terms of the characters, these characters kill me. I feel like I've grown up with them, but like you watch them grow up throughout the course of the series, and that's what I think is so great about it. You watch them being so young and being thrust into positions they never expected to be in, and watching them take on those positions and change and grow, I love, but also watching them existing throughout a very long sustained war and how that changes them. I just think so excellently done. These characters are so vivid and leap off the page. I love them to pieces, even if they frustrate me and really bum me out at times. I think their arcs over the course of the trilogy are incredibly earned and satisfying, even if sometimes they can be upsetting or like they're not the way you want necessarily things to end up sometimes, but that's life and that's like the world that they live in, and I just think it's so very well realized. I love a lot of the new dynamics brought to the table. We get to see kids become adults and become their own people and a part of this war, and watching our OG characters have to wrestle with that was also a great element of tension that I just adored. In terms of the plot, I think this is truly where Fonda Lee shines so much. This is fantastically plotted and put together. There are reveals that keep you on the edge of your seat from the beginning. There was, I think I was about 40% into the book, and I was reading on my break, and I was ready to throw my Kindle across the room. I was like, what? I could not believe what was happening. I just was so mad, and I had to go back to work, and I was like, oh my God, did this really happen? And it just constantly feels like the other shoe is going to drop. You constantly feel like the bad stuff is really going to hit hard. The element of unease and tenseness, what the hell's that word? Tension. There we go. Tension. The element of unease and tension in here, and how it's so built up over the course of the novel before like explosive things happen, I think is just excellent. I was entertained and engaged from start to finish, if not always like sick to my stomach in fear of these characters who I love so much. And as I mentioned, just the scope of the story, how much grander it gets compared to the first one to the ending. I think the payoff is so great, and that's why I think this is such a great finale. Everything is leveled up. Watching the growth of everything, of the characters, of the plot, of the story, of the world, everything grows so much. I really liked the unexpected nature of certain things. It may be just what I was expecting from the story was maybe a bit different, but I love how things turn out in a way I personally would never expect. It was surprising, but also really fitting for the story. I think Fonda Lee's writing is also consistently fantastic. She writes amazing action scenes, and the way she plots and puts everything together is great, but her characterization is so incredibly strong. I think if she couldn't get you on board with who these characters were, that the story would not nearly be as beloved as what it is. It truly is so fantastic. Like, I am constantly amazed at how well she wrote the series. The growth of her writing and storytelling throughout the course of the series, it's great. And I think her use of the time jumps could have really blown up in her face, but I think it was the risk itself paid off very well, and I'm very impressed. Hopefully that was a short review. I'm sure it's not a surprise that I love this book, but honestly, anytime I go into a finale, I'm so nervous I'm going to hate it. But luckily, this was not the case. I gave Jade Legacy a glowing 5 stars. I love it so much. I can't wait to return to the series and read it like from start to finish, knowing where we end up. This is a fantastic finale. I think satisfying in every way, at least for me. I highly recommend picking up this book. I highly recommend this series overall. No shock. This has definitely reached all-time favorite series consideration. It is very much up there. I'm glad that I can say that officially now, having read the finale. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Jade Legacy. If you've come across this later on and you want to talk spoilers, I would love to. Just be a little bit mindful in the comments. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Hopefully. Bye.